baptism, you have to take your mind, you have to put it in meditation, you have to reduce down to 14 cycles per second. You rise out of that, which is the second stage, or water, and you come up into the third stage, which is air, where there is no thought. You will then ride in that 8 cycles per second, maybe even drop below that. There is no thought, there is air. That's what it means in the Bible when it says we will rise to meet Jesus in the air. It means you will meet him in the third stage of consciousness, which is air. But that is not what's believed by people out there. They believe you're going to take off like a Superman and fly through the sky. And it has nothing to do with that. It's foolishness. It's foolishness to believe that there's some God somewhere who's going to get turned on if you dip your head in water, or that you're going to go flying through the air like some kind of a 747. You're not. You're going to rise up here out of the water, which is the second stage, to the third stage. And when you get to that third stage, which is air, you're then primed to be hit with what they call the baptism of the Holy Spirit, which is touching the fourth stage of consciousness, which is between theta and delta as far as the cycles is concerned, and that's called fire. And that's what it also means, that the next time the earth will not be destroyed by water. It'll mean it'll be destroyed by fire. That's what's happening right now. It's the time of the spiritual baptism of fire, which is Aquarius. The water part through the baptism through Noah is over. Now the part comes for that which will be fire. And this is all the evolution that you see in the Bible. Okay? So that's where we reach at. When you get to the point where we've gone through Genesis, you've gone through Adam, you've gone through Eve, you've gone through all the garden and the naked and all of this business, and you've gone through Cain and Abel, and now you got the intercourse of the right side and the left side, all of the chaos here. What has to happen? There has to be the baptism. You have to move up into the second stage of consciousness. You can look at your life, whatever it is, whatever chaos you've got going on in your life, and your relationships with your family, your relationships with the system, your relationships with nature, and you can say right now, I need a storm. There has to be a Noah. Within me, I've got to get to that second stage. And that's up to you to do it. Nobody can do it for you. Not a person, not a group, not an organization in the world can do it for you. You have to decide to do it for yourself. And then you'll rise up into the third stage of consciousness and then be touched by the fire, which is the fourth stage. And these are all just descriptive levels of different cycles of vibrations within your own brain. Electricity within your brain. You've got to change your frequencies, basically what it's saying. You got to switch from channel 2 to channel 7. You got to switch from the duality to that which is the perfection. And that's what this is all about. So we get to the point in the evolution of the Bible and in the evolution of Genesis where we've had all of the Cain and Abel and all that kind of business, and then we get to the point now where what's necessary? Noah. We've got to go, and we've got to go to that second stage, which is the water stage. And that brings us to page 5 in the Bible, and Genesis chapter 6 and verse 8. And if you look at verse 8, it said, Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Why? Because what does the name Noah mean? It means rest. 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 Rest from what? Rest from yourself. Rest from yourself. Not the people around you, because they're screwy, because they've never had a rest from themselves. And that's one of the unfortunate things. You can find yourself in meditation. You can find yourself coming to grips finally with that which is within you, but you live in a house where people have never found this. They're running around actually believing this stuff literally. They believe naked people were running around talking to a snake and all of this stuff, and that's the way they believe it, and they take it and they say, this is it. It's not it. It's absolutely buffoonery to take Eastern allegorical symbolisms literally, and that's what we've done. Experts. And so now you get to this point where it says, Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and it leads you to the famous myth of the ark. And I say myth, and I mean myth. It's mythology. It's talking about a great spiritual thing that happens. It is not talking about some actual man with all kinds of animals wandering through a boat and then going up on top of a mountain. What good is that going to do anybody? Absolutely none. But when you hear and understand this, you realize what it does to you in the evolution. The word Noah means rest, and the Noah energy in each of us is to find a place of rest. And the only time you'll ever find a place of rest when you're able to separate from all of that fear and guilt which runs rampant in your mind. That's the only place you'll find rest. You can go to the Bahamas, you can go to Bermuda, you can go to Switzerland. If your mind is screwy, you'll never find rest. It doesn't make any difference where you go. You're just taking it with you. That's what it says. Jesus said in Matthew, he says, when you pray into the closet and close the door, that means go deep within yourself into that secret place and close the door on all of your thoughts, all of your fears, all of your hopes, all of your desires, and just sit there in nothingness and let the cloud of unknowing take you up into the arms of that which is God. When we were down at PTL years ago, we were into the fundamental stuff. They had a room in there where they had prayer closets. They had 15 of them, and you walked in the door, and you actually physically walked in a closet and sat down. What was the problem? You're taking the same insanity into the closet with you. It doesn't make any difference. You go into a closet, you can sit in a refrigerator, and it's still going to be in there. Lunacy is lunacy. And you take it with you. The point is entering into the closet is entering into a secret place within yourself, closing the door so you don't have the worry, the guilt, and the fear. And believe me, there is a scientific principle that you can do. This is a very simple thing to do. Very simple thing to do, and it's keyed to dropping those brain cycles, okay? Now, let's go to Genesis chapter 6, verse 11, okay? The earth was corrupt and filled with violence. It says the earth was filled with violence. And what's the instruction? Look at verse 14 of Genesis 6. Make an ark, okay? Make an ark for when the storm comes. But when do you have to do it? It wasn't raining then. There wasn't water coming all over the place then. It's now, while you got the energy to do it, while you got the mind to do it. Because when the doctor comes back with the report and says, hey, you got this, it's too late. You can't make an ark then. You're broken. If the doctor comes back and says, I have something to tell you about somebody in your family, it's too late. That guy tells you you've lost your job and you don't have a job. I challenge you to come and sit down and meditate. You can forget about it. Forget about it. Can't be done. And if the doctor comes back and says, I'm sorry, but the blood test says, forget about it. There's no way you're going to come in here and meditate. And what's said in this thing right now is build an ark now while the sun's shining. Build the ark now while you can build it. Build the ark, and because when the storm comes, if you build your ark now, which is a meditational ark, you build your ark now. When that storm comes, that ark will be a place of safety, and you'll ride out the storm. That's the promise. That's the promise. And look what it says there in Genesis 6, verse 14. Pitch it within and without. You know what that pitch it within and without means? Seal it! Shut the door. Close it off. Nothing's allowed in there. It's the same thing as Sabbath. You're not allowed, any of you, you know what? When you take that ark, which is a mental ark, which is the mind, and you pitch it, you know what it means? It prevents all the thoughts from getting in there. There can't be any thoughts allowed in your mind. Because in that holy place on the right side, it's free from all of the thoughts that have scared you. All of the thoughts that have made you sick. And all of this stuff is regulated from here. And so this is what's said. When all of this chaos is coming inside of your mind, you need a place of rest. You need an ark, and it's given to you to make. Look at Genesis 6:15. Genesis 6. This is the fashion which you shall make it. The length shall be 300 cubits, 50 cubits, height 30 cubits. This is the interesting point. Watch me. A cubit is 18 inches. Okay? If any of you read this book, The Language Crystal, it's an interesting thing. The number 18 in Hebrew is C-H-A-I. Okay? And that's the word which means life. And that 18, 9, is used throughout the entire Bible to signify life, because the number 9 is the number of consciousness. 1 plus 8 equals 9. Let me show you this quickly for those who haven't seen this before. Go to page 1010 in the Bible and look at Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. And look at verse 18. Here is the wisdom. Let him understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number of a man, and it is 600. Three score is 60. 666. Look up here. 666 equals what? 18. Right. It's a negative aspect of life. It's the lower duality of life. Add 1 and 8. What's it equal? 9. It always comes back to that number of consciousness. Look at the very next sentence in the Bible. And I looked, now here's the other side of the duality. And a lamb stood on the mount, and with him 144,000, having their father's name written where? In their foreheads. Consciousness. 144,000 saved. 1 plus 4 plus 4. It's an interesting thing. Take the 1, add up the 2 4s. What do you got? 8 equals 9. 18 equals 9.